going on, Thrallers? Happy Friday to you all, and this review brought to you by Undeath. It's time to rise from the grave, their second full-length album from this Rochester, New York band. Released on Prosthetic Records, this is very much a love letter to early 90s Florida death metal. The band formed in 2018, released a little EP demo type thing in 2019, their first full length then a year later, and now today we get this, which is, man, I don't want to go out and say it's like a masterpiece, but it's pretty damn close. I really enjoy this album a lot. The band is Alexander Jones on vocals, Kyle Beam and Jared Welch on guitars, Tommy Wall on bass, and Matt Browning on drums. Now, right away in the opening track of this song, you really get that early 90s death metal, death thrash feel to it, and sound, and it's that sound at its best. And what I mean by that is punchy drums, buzzsaw guitars, very level vocals, and fairly clear and tangible for this style of music, which typically you can't understand anything. This guy definitely is a fan of some of the better singers in this genre, and it shows. The first part of the song they establish is really badass riff, and then in the bridge they manage to bring it back around almost like unexpectedly, and it really fit really well, flowed very well together. This was a great starting track to this album and really sets you up to kind of get you in that nostalgia mood. Defiled, again, the second track on the song. In the middle of that song kind of loses me a little bit, and the solo seems to stop almost a little early. It's very abrupt, and it just seems like it could have carried out into those next few bars, because there is no vocals or anything like that. It could have been something that could have been carried over fairly easily. They do a pretty good job of working in these off-time changes within even a 4 or 8 bar little section of the song, and it doesn't feel disjointed. Like some of the bands that I hear in this, they do that off-time, like multiple time signatures within a few bars, and it just doesn't fit very well. They do a good job of keeping it together and keeping it concise enough that your head can still wrap around to it and latch onto it. Rise from the Grave has got a really good Carcass kind of feel and sound to it, just a hint of it, and it hits nice on the corpsey riffs right in the middle of this song, and the riff right after the solo is awesome. I just wanted to rewind it and listen to it again, but I didn't, because I like listening to the albums in their entirety from start to finish. Necrobionics, what a cool ass name for a song. A lot of these song titles are pretty cool. Not too crazy dark. Matt Browning does a fantastic job at like kind of riding right into that pocket of that next riff, and it's tasty as and then at the end of this song, they bring that riff back around again. They don't do something badass and then never go back to it. There are a lot of songs that I've heard, they have these little snippets of like just awesome riffs, drums, everything works together really well. They only keep it for like 2 bars and then never return to it. There's a little more of that off-timey kind of stuttering and kind of feel off balance when you're listening to it. Those riffs, those style of riffs anyway, and Enhancing the Dead, the 5th track on this album. And when this band does do those off-time kind of different time signatures within a couple bars, everything still seems grounded, and you can still wrap your head around it, which is super important in keeping your listeners' attention. And another thing I love about this album is all the songs are between that 3 and 4 minute sweet spot. I can kind of tell that they keep to the basics of song writing and structure, and that's not a bad thing. There's not enough of that. There's not enough of these kind of simpler riffs, just chuggy, groovy, just hook-laden riffs that are repeated. Bands are afraid to repeat these things in a song, and I'm not sure why. I've heard the argument that, well, it's one little part, and they'll listen to the song again for that one little part. Well, if you have 15 seconds, 20 seconds of a song that is sweet and an 8-minute song, I'm not going to listen to it again. But if you give me a 4-minute song and I hear those riffs 2 or 3 times and it's enough to keep me entertained in that 3 or 4 minutes, I'll listen to that song 100 times. Head splattered in 7 ways, very wretched Spawn feel to it, while you get a song before that, The Funeral Within, has got this kind of death doom thrash crossover feel to it a little bit. Band does a good job with the corpse style, or I hate making that comparison all the time, but the 90s Florida death groove. Bone Rot is a good example of that. It's got a really cool groove to it. And then the last song is the off-time cymbal hits. Got me in that one. I dig those off-time cymbal hits, and he does a really fantastic job of utilizing the bell on that ride to accent where nothing else is, and it stands out. And I love that just pingy ride bell at the right time. Oh, it's music to my ears, and it makes this wannabe drummer smile from ear to ear. Now, Matt Browning does a fantastic job, in my opinion, on the drums on this album. He doesn't overplay anything. He keeps to the groove. He follows what's going on with the music. Every decision that he makes really makes sense. But he also utilizes these little spots, like I said, with the ride thing, to stand out and cut through a little bit and differentiate himself from what else is going on in the song, which leads to it being or seeming like a bigger thing. Like there's more instruments, there's more to fill out that soundscape without using synths or anything like that. So I am going to give this a solid 4 out of 5, and I have a feeling this is going to be bumped up a little bit the more I listen to this, because I really enjoy this album. The production is easy to listen to. The song structure is good. They keep to that sweet spot of 3 to 4 minutes. They aren't afraid to repeat badass riffs and badass ideas and badass movements here within the songs, which is great, because like I said, I don't want to re-listen to a 9-minute noodle fest for 15 seconds of something that's cool. I'm just going to listen to it once and be like, oh, that one part was cool. This, you can wrap your head around everything. It's easy to digest. It's easy to listen to. The vocals are tangible for this style of music, and if you are into this style of music, the death vocals, you'll be able to understand what he's saying, because at this point, we've all kind of trained our ears to hear this stuff. We get a treat when we get some of these vocals that are more tangible, like, Corpse Grinder style. I don't know if anyone will get to the level that he is in his clarity and his delivery, his cadence is just rapid fire. But it's nice to see fans of his taking to heart what he's doing. Alexander Jones has got to be one of the going death metal vocalists that I have at the top of my list right now. I really dig the sound of his voice and the line that he's able to ride. That could go either way: tangible, understandable, or just mumbling crap. Vocals in death metal go one or two ways. You either have someone that is just not hitting the death metal style with the growling and the gurgling, the really severe fray on the vocal, or do you get those that are just too much gurgling, too much growling, too much fray, and you can't understand anything. Alexander Jones does a good job of riding that line right in between there. And it's a nice line to ride. He's not as clear as Corpse Grinder may be, but there aren't any vocalists really that can hit those ranges that he does. Alexander Jones is on his way to be a premier vocalist in death metal. I already hear it. And this band is on their way to be one of the premier death metal bands of our time right now. And I have confidence in saying that with this album. It's really that good. There may be a lot of people that say this has been done before, and it has. I mean, this style of music has been around since early 90s. We're getting into 30 years of this. It's going to happen. It's going to happen again. There's going to be 1,000 more bands that do this style of music, but this band in particular does it very well. And if you like that style, that era of music, this has got to be an album that you pick up and listen to. So, Undeath, fantastic job, fellas. I look forward to seeing you play live. I can't wait to hear this. Man, if I could get a show with you guys in Skeletal Remains, I'll be in death metal fucking heaven. So, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you enjoy Undeath, let me know in the comments. What do you think of this album? We also have some shirts for sale. I'll show you here. I got one. There you go. Check that out. These are available on the website. Go to thrallsofmetal.com. Click on the store little link there, and it'll take you right to our Shopify page to check out. I'll get it, and I'll wrap it all up, throw it in the mail, and get it to you as quickly as possible. As always, thank you all for joining and watching our show and watching our channel, supporting us in what we do, and bearing with me this past week with all the technical shit I've been dealing with here. Got it all figured out. We're going to stay on schedule. We'll be back tomorrow for another review. But until next time...